Hi, this is RN Bhaskar from Bhaskar Ki Business Batein. And this time we're doing an interview with Sachin Jain of the World Gold Council. I'll leave it to Sachin to introduce himself. Sachin, can we have?
Bhaskar, it's a pleasure to be on your platform. I'm very happy to be, interacting with you with somebody who's enlightened me about how we, we trembled the Romans at some time, which is great. But it's a pleasure for me to be here.
Pleasure.
Also an honor for me to represent World Gold Council. I've been very lucky, in my life in general, that I've been a part of this phenomenal India growth story at the start of my career. And I've been in the sort of luxury, retail, premium space with about 14 years of my last term in my career being at De Beers, where I ran India and the Middle Eastern operation. And also last 3 years, I was running a global project. So very, very happy to be here.
Pleasure.
And as I said, our industry is fascinating. Our industry is almost, I always believe that we're in a very happy industry in general because the product is very happy.
It is a wonderful industry.
When somebody looks at our product, that gleam in the eye is something that's amazing, and I'm very fortunate.
Yes, it is an industry that's full of stories, full of achievements.
Yeah.
And that is what I thought I'd come and ask you, because you come in at the right time when the government is introducing market-friendly policies. And the government has not been very friendly to the gold trade for ages, right from the Gold Control Act till the high import duties. So I thought maybe you could tell me what is it that you're happy about the policies that the government has just introduced.
I think from my perspective, the government I think has a very long-term view of what India is today and what India's destination can be. And I wouldn't question it. I wouldn't come with this cynicism.
Okay.
I would come in with a lot of positivity, and everything that I see is quite balanced.
Okay.
One of the steps that we saw this time coming out of the budget. Of course, I'll jump in what happened in gold, but also overall, it was an extremely balanced budget. It was a budget that brings progress to our nation, and with the destination that the Honorable Prime Minister set out, or the Vision 2047, which is called, where we will be a Viksit Bharat or a developed nation. I think it's ambitious, and that ambition, and for that ambition, India is ready today. And I think we're in good hands. That's what I fundamentally believe. Diving in on the gold policies that we witness, of course, it's a great step towards rationalizing duties. And what it does is, in our Madam Finance Minister, in one sentence, she completely killed the whole smuggling and the whole system of grey, and hence different parities on which business used to exist. And it's on one parity. I think it's a level playing field, and it's going to be fun because we'll see some great work that the Indian business has been doing, but because of these malpractices, there was not one fair playground. And now that gets one fair playground, the consumer gets to benefit, and we're going to be, I am certain that with this step, the positivity that's going to come out with the whole business operating in an organized manner, and you see that it's all connected. It's
Yes.
how the economic system is married to the wallet, is married to the card, and I think all of that will be in the system. And I foresee that over the next few months or years, you'll really see and witness what the gold industry actually did.
Can do.
Because did also, and it'll come into reflection. And I think economically where we sit right now, and globally it's been quite a sort of geopolitics is happening and various other things are happening. I was in China 2 weeks ago, and when you see what's happening on the floors, when you see what's happening with the consumers, when you see the mental state in which people are battling, existence, and you look at what's happening in our country, I think we are in a phenomenal place. And what's going to happen to our nation, to our economy, and particularly to the gold business in the next 10 years is going to be phenomenal. And I'm 100% certain that that change will be not temporal; it'll be permanent. It'll be in where India should be, and in a way, as I was saying, telling you, bringing back to your sort of theory and your sort of historical evidence around what India used to be. I think we're going to get back to almost
Those
being an
great
important
days.
the great days of India. They're not very far.
Okay, this brings me to the next question. I believe, according to me, that while duty rates have been brought down, that plus GST is still very high because anything over 5% still encourages smuggling. So do you think there's some more reduction possible?
I think none of us across the business were anticipating this level of cut.
Okay,
And
which is true.
I think which is great. And I think this level of cut that's happened. First, my first exhortation via your platform to the industry would be that let's do a good job and prove to the government that the step they've taken is right, and hence we have to improve our behaviors. And the behaviors would be around addressing the most important person in the value chain, which is the end client, getting more confidence in what he's doing, while he's interacting with our business. Do it transparently, do it with the grit, and when you offer something, stand behind the product. And hence, I think this step is already quite a significant one,
Very
and
true.
it'll take a bit of time for the industry to digest and operate at this level. I wouldn't gun for more to begin with. I think we need to first
Let's
prove
digest
ourselves.
this.
Digest this. There's enough appetite that the government has opened up for all of us in the industry. And I can tell you, and I met one of the leading retailers for breakfast in the morning, and the way they're looking at organized play, the way they're looking at consumers in tier 3, tier 4 towns coming out and swiping credit cards, we're ready. And the point is that if this opportunity that's given to us is by the government, we have to now perform so that we leave to what this really meant to. And before that, I wouldn't sort of say that this should be done more, because I think it's a very strong step. And if we behave well as an industry, we perform well as an industry, we show some results that we've improvised, I think that should be our first focus.
That should be fun. Okay. You have also tried to instill confidence in the end consumer by introducing measures like the recent announcement you made about standards. Can you talk about that?
Well, we're very happy to announce the first self-regulatory organization in the world, not
Okay.
just in India.
It's in the world.
We at World Gold Council in India are the pioneers to sort of put a seed on that.
Yeah.
We feel very proud about the fact that this is going to be the first, SRO, as I said, globally for the entire value chain of gold. And I'll tell you why this is coming into existence, why the timing is absolutely correct.
Okay.
The gold value chain is today very, I would say, diversified, one, and also fragmented.
Yes.
So you have, on one end, you have a refiner. His connect to the manufacturer is almost non-existent. So it's a very fragmented zone that we live in. However, at various times we've studied the consumer and we studied and talked to the government. Both the consumer, even a lot of chunk of consumers don't buy gold because there's a trust deficit. People who buy gold also have a trust deficit, and that's unique because we keep buying gold from, all of us in India have a family doctor and we have family jeweler. And somehow in our heart, we know that the family jeweler perhaps has been fleecing our mom and our grandmom and a great grandmom, but we still go back to him because it's a sense of confidence. But I think with the new age consumer, that equation is changing. They want to be more transparent and confident. They want to vote by their wallet because their exposure is quite wide and they're truly global citizens.
Yes.
And in that sense, if we think that the future will thrive on how we've thrived in the past, that's an error. So as an industry, we need to take concrete steps that 31st December 2024, 70% of India will be millennials or younger.
Yes.
Now, the fact is that and it's not that I have to have one segment of my business focused on millennials. The reality is they are the people who are going to buy. We'll have a smaller percentage of people older like us who will buy or engage in this business. And hence, we need to get ready for a future that's different. And
Yes.
steps like what we've introduced as the first self-regulatory organization is a very important step for a few things. First, to bring the industry together, right? Secondly, to have the ownership and also, I would say, even the guts to say that I'm operating transparently, come and audit me. So it brings in, one, the industry together. So it's built up with the collaboration with the leading associations of India. It's an independent body. It's by the industry, for the industry. It is independent audit panels where your businesses will get audited for a code of conduct that the industry set for you.
Excellent.
And what that does is that, as I said, majority of the participants in the business do a good job. Our role will be to accredit them, to put pat their back and make them recognized in front of the new age consumer. And we also met a lot of industry participants who want to do good things, but they perhaps don't have a clear path as to what is required to change in my business to get to that point. And IAGIS will provide, one, accreditation, and number two, guidance to people to do a good job.
Okay.
And thirdly, what the important thing in IAGIS to consider is that it's not it's not a big boys club. It is for everybody who is connected to the gold value chain.
Okay.
So you could be a small retailer, you could be a small refiner, you could be a small bullion guy, but we open and welcome you to conduct your business in a proper manner.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So effectively, who will monitor the small goldsmiths?
So the point is not monitoring. The point is, one, it's voluntary.
Okay.
We think it's voluntary, and it's a voluntary membership. When you apply to be an IHS member or accreditation for IHS, we have a very simplified code of conduct for every part of the value chain that's laid out to you, and you need to conduct based on that. We will be appointing independent auditors who will go and conduct.
So you will have auditors. Yes,
you will have auditors.
Obviously.
They'll be appointed independently, and you have anybody has choice to choose A, B, C, D, whoever, and that audit will be the basis of your accreditation or basis of your guidance to get accredited. So, for example, if my business is operating in not a conducive manner or a accreditation ready manner, then clear guidelines will be laid out that make these 5 changes and come back. That kind of thing. So it's not
in a way what LBMA does for the entire industry.
In some way.
In a way.
In some way, because LBMA does only for one part of the value chain.
Yes,
right?
Only for one part, the refiners.
That's right. For us, it is the value chain of gold where we think that when a consumer walks in, and let's say the consumer is walking into the street of Bandra, and there are about 400 retailers in Bandra street, and if 10 of them or 20 of them or half of them, or perhaps in the future 70% of them have an IHS logo, our role would be to ensure that the consumer knows that these are the people who've conducted their business in a right manner. When I say right manner, it's not always about the strict rules and regulations alone. It's also about saying that I don't have child labor. It's also about saying that my work environment stands certain ethics. It also is saying that when I give you a bill, it means something. It also means that I'm paying my taxation. So something very simple to some things which are regulated by law.
Excellent. And there's only one question that I have here. It's a great idea, but in India we have the existence of people who will put up an IHS board outside and still not follow the rules, and thus fool the customer. So there has to be some regulatory authority to make sure that your logo is not misused.
I think you're spot on, sir. The point is that in India, there is always a big distinction being popular and being right.
Yes.
And I think you're spot on that the success of this organization will be to take stronger decisions and actions for people who don't or misuse or people who don't stick to it. And also guts to saying that we will not let you qualify if you're not standing. So I think
effectively you're working in tandem with the government to make sure that anyone who misuses
No, it's
a
not
logo.
the government. It's about actually making an independent whole team who's governed by a governing body. Mm-hmm. And the current board, for example, is also getting a bunch of advisors. So we have some of the leading names in India, not from the industry, but for people who shaped our nation.
Okay.
Like ex-chairmen of SEBI, for example, ex-chairmen of the Niti Aayog, and the government sector who shaped our country as an advisory board. And for every association that's going to be on, we'll have an independent member on the board. That'll be the governing board. And then the intent is to have a strong team which is led by somebody who's established a similar kind of an organization to stand for something good. And number 2, to get people aligned in a certain direction. Because, the role is not to be an auditor and saying my way or the highway. The role is to shape the future in a manner which perhaps is right.
Yes.
And for that, it's a lot of collaboration that's required, and a unique skill, which is a collaboration plus having a strong hand. So I think that's
so that
what
strong hand is what I'd like to see how it emerges.
Absolutely. And I think the success of this organization, the credibility of this organization will not be just to put ticks, but to also put crosses.
Okay. One last question.
Yes.
Okay. And I don't want to tax you too much, but
one
last question.
Pleasure.
And the question is basically the government's done so much. What else would you expect from the government in the coming year?
I think short term and long term. I'll answer that in that sense. For me, the long term is I think the direction laid out by the Prime Minister, which is the Vision 2047, Viksit Bharat. I think we as Gold have a role to play.
Of course.
And for me, my wish is that we are able to set out a clear path with the government of what the role of gold will be in 2047.
Brilliant.
Right? And then work backwards, take that onus not as World Gold Council, but as an industry to make those changes to what our destination should be in 2040, in 2035, in 2030,
Okay.
25, and have an aligned view. So we need to work closely with the government on that alignment. So, and I think we're initiating some work, and I believe we'll see results very soon. So that's the long term. In the short term, I think the custom duty bit that we just talked about is a very strong step. The responsibility lies with us to deliver it well, and not with the government anymore. So we need to do a good job. I think there are one of the most few things that the government can help us on, and one very low-hanging fruit that I think that needs to be looked at is digitization. We talk about India getting more digital,
Yes,
and people interacting with their digital wallets, money in the system, and so on and so forth. And one of the very important products that is out in the market is digital gold that
Yes,
exists.
yes.
Right? And digital gold, we know millions of consumers buying it because of one, its propensity, one, its ease of access. You can buy digital gold at 100 rupees of gold. So it allows entry into the category.
Incremental adding on to your gold reserves, yes.
No, more importantly, a consumer who has 100 rupees can buy
also
gold
buy, yes,
digitally and keep it in the wallet. I think that's important. However, that product is not regulated by the government. And hence, we really wish that government comes out with a regulation and makes it a legitimate product. And eventually, I think there will be some flyers who will cause little damage.
A lot of damage in terms of
little damage
reputation.
in financially, but huge damage reputationally.
Yes.
For a great product for India, which is ready.
Absolutely.
And I think that'll be one of my asks. The second will be the spot exchange that we think we should be. India today is a price taker, not a price maker. And I think with the government, we as an industry need to move to a point where we as India are the price makers.
Especially since we're the largest consumers.
One is that, but also I think there that is a notion, but I think we need to do more concrete things on as I said, transparent operation. And I wouldn't blame the government.
No, this has to be done from internally.
I think we as an industry need to reshape the way we operate at times.
Again, I'd put it this way, that both the government and the industry have a lot to contribute to the state of the industry.
Absolutely.
Government regulation push it underground. You need to make it transparent, as you said.
Absolutely. And I think there is a role to regulation. If somebody says that, do we like these rules and regulations? Everybody says, no, it's always dampening. I think it's correct. Because if there are no rules and regulations, we will not be able to grow.
Chaos, yes.
We will not be able to grow in a sustainable manner, which drives sustainable growth. If there are no rules, there'll be night flyby operators, and a consumer will get cheated.
Okay.
And I think the strict rules and regulations, and I think government is open about a future which is going to be different. And I think we all will have to benefit only if we operate differently. Only if we operate and believe, Einstein always said that if you keep doing things in the past, you keep getting the same results. The point is that in today's time, if you keep doing the things of the past, you will not get the same results in the future.
Okay.
And it's going to change.
2 points that I want to ask you is the discrepancy between the SEPA rules, which allow relatively cheaper imports, and the domestic import rules, the regular import rules. Do you think that those will get evened out?
I think they already have been. I mean, this huge change that's happened just completely changes the equation of how much time and energy we were putting in these conversations till 3 weeks ago, and today it's a very different conversation.
Yes.
So I think it's just about balancing, and I'm sure they will be coming out with more fine tuning. I think they acknowledge the point that there's an issue there, and I think that issue is
which is good. But at least they've acknowledged it.
They've acknowledged it, and they've impacted. I mean, they've corrected it in some manner.
Okay. One more question. Typically, one of the most interesting things that I'm looking forward to is India is still a large repository of gold, but much of the gold is underground.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you need to have some kind of a gold scheme which incentivizes this gold being brought into the mainstream, which means A, it becomes legitimate. B, it does not penalize the customer too much. Makes it easier. Don't get the tax authorities raiding the person just because he's not disclosed gold for the last 10 years, 20 years, or 50 years.
Sure.
Is that part of a 2047 agenda?
100% and spot on. I think if you look at the currently two sources that we think by which gold comes out, one is of course the mining, and some small part of recycling comes in recycling. I think into the future, as you said, gold which is above the ground will be a big mine in itself. And I think if we call it in a fun manner, the big India household mine,
yes,
we need to have a great mechanism to have that flow, which is easy, it's productive, it's with with systematic measures, But I'm sure there's a lot of conversations happening, and I can tell you, we are thinking about it. We've been talking to the government about it. The government is shaping things up, and hopefully we'll get some solution in it.
Wonderful.
Because it's there, and we really think it's a great asset of of our country. I mean, to one point that I like to make also is that gold currently is treated, when you look at the balance, in the accounts, it's not treated as a capital asset.
Which has to change.
Which has to change because it's not an iPhone that gets imported and becomes zero.
Every slum dweller wants gold because that's an asset for him.
That's right. And we have to start somewhere where we acknowledge some part of it. Maybe
it is an economic asset. It's a financial asset. You
maybe
have to treat
maybe if you show it in the balance sheet, for example, is a starting point. I don't know what the starting point would be, but I think once we start acknowledging it, because it's a true valuable asset for our country, and it should be treated like that.
Brilliant. I hope these things work out, and it's good to hear this from you. And looking forward to a much more glowing golden future.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bhaskar. We think the gold is going to be the new gold from now on. And we really hope to have your support and share all that we're doing through you. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for this meeting.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.